Charles Schwab has never been afraid to challenge the status quo. In 1971, he founded a traditional brokerage firm that over the next 3 decades evolved into a beacon for independent financial advisors. Chuck is a pioneer who cut fees, challenged norms, and forged a path that set him and his company apart. I sat down with him in his office in San Francisco to find out more about this icon. Chuck, thank you for sitting down with me today.
My pleasure.
You're being recognized by Investment News as an icon in our inaugural Icon and Innovators Awards series. So my first question to you is, what does being an icon mean to you?
Well, I hadn't really thought about myself being an icon as such, but I guess the fact that we really were the firm, the group that got in to really support investment advisors way back in the early 80s, when we identified that there was a group of people out there that were providing independent advice to clients across the board. So I think being an original and supporting it for all these years, I guess icon is not a bad description.
So what was your inspiration for starting a discount brokerage firm way back when?
Well, way back when, I had started out my professional career with a small investment advisory company, management company that was right in Menlo Park at the time, and I was going to Stanford. And I worked there weekends, after school. Then I went to work for them permanently after I graduated from business school. And I began to see, I had relationships with lots of different brokerage firms that provided help, and research and things of that, to help us manage investment accounts for individuals. But I saw the very much of a conflicted set of information that came out from the brokerage community. They were always trying to create a commission. Mm-hmm. And it began for me was very self-centered kind of advice. And they all had certain levels of inside information, which made it more important. I thought there was a real place for some firm that would be very clean, highest of ethics, and not get engaged really in the advice, that kind of business. We just provide execution business to the people who would enjoy that. Our earliest business was just for self-directed investors who could make their own decisions without the help of some conflicted salesman. So we had great early success, and then, as I said, in the early 80s, we began to identify this whole other group of people, independent advisors, and turn it into really a massive business for us.
Can you tell me about a time, a hardship in building your firm, where you learned an important lesson?
Well, some of the hardest times were obviously, like any firm, at the very beginning. I knew we had a great business and we were growing rapidly. Interesting fact was, in 1979, we were about 4 years old. And I needed more capital because we were growing, and I needed for a lot of different reasons, but I couldn't get any money from the venture capital world. They all had brokers from the traditional brokerage firms on their boards, and they hated us because this competition was coming their way. So I couldn't get funding from this. So I was really dependent upon family, friends, and that kind of thing at the very beginning. And that's the reason why, at that moment in time, I ended up doing a deal with Bank of America. And so we got a number of dollars from that deal. And obviously, if you look at our history, the bank bought us.
Right.
In 81 it was. And of course, I bought it back in 87.
Did you feel like, when you were starting this company, did you feel like an outsider?
You know, the feelings that I had at the beginning, we were criticized by many, many people in the industry. Yes, I felt like an outsider as such. In fact, one of the first exchanges that I applied to was the Pacific Coast Exchange way back in the mid-'70s. And they took my application before the ethics committee, and they didn't think I was operating ethically. I mean, talk about being 180 degrees off.
Right.
That's what the view was. Finally, they consented and let us become a member of the stock exchange.
Chuck, what would you like to be remembered for?
Well, I would like to be remembered for the force of big change. I mean, we all like to be thinking about we're here on Earth for a limited part of time that we'd like to leave behind some kind of a element of, yeah, I did something better, life is better because of that. And I think the forces that myself and some other of my competitors had in changing the picture of Wall Street from a very greedy, highly centric, self-interested kind of industry to something that's much broader based, much about democracy, as we want. Bring more people in, as we've done, in the old-fashioned way of a closed door, closed mind is gone forever.